Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. Excuse me. Let me turn my mute on.
Got it.
Good morning. It's not morning where you are, I suppose. Philip said he was here. Are you here? I don't hear him. Hi, Raja.
No, my daughter is sitting. My daughter,
I'm sorry that didn't come through.
don't think I was able to.
Oh, I think there's some type of misconnection. You're coming through garbled. Can you hear me?
So
Oh my. Hmm. It starts recording right away. I'm going to have to figure out a way to start recording
it
after
says that I didn't give permission.
everyone gets here.
that's the oh yeah,
Wait a minute. I think I can stop it. Can I stop it? No, I can't. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, you're being recorded now for posterity. Someday people will look at these videos
and go, yeah, this is
and dance around the fire chanting. Oh my God. Oh, I wonder, Zoom. Raja, there's still two of you here. There's your doppelgangers. Sarah, it's so good to see you or see your name and hear your voice.
Good to see you, Michael, and everyone. And you know what I didn't hear in a while, Michael? Your whistle laugh. Do you remember, like, you used to tilt your head back and there was a whistling like a kettle? Do you remember that?
I don't.
Yeah, I loved it. I was always waiting for that to happen, and I didn't hear it in a long time. So
the older I get, the less I remember. It's kind of a blessing. Um, we several times we've talked about memory being fluid, and it seems to kind of leak out when you get older. The past, I seem to remember more than the immediate past, the distant past. I think evidently every time you remember or remember, it changes the memory a little bit because it's influenced by everything that's happened between now and then. And so the memory actually changes, which is, I don't know, a good thing or not. There's nothing you can count on. It's all fluid. We're in a water world of memories that reflect off of a self that doesn't exist. It's very strange, very delightful, I think. It can be horrendous, I think, for some people. I was reading some accounts on hallucinogens, and they're not always positive. Evidently, I don't know if people talk about the negative trips or not, but sometimes these earth-changing, world-changing adventures through psychedelica can lead to a dark place. the three men who had a video each licked the frog and took the very strongest hallucinogen supposedly in the world. Two of them had positive experiences. One had a very bad experiences. He wished to God he hadn't have done it. I listened to a video of a lady who had a very profound experience with, what was it? I don't remember. But anyway, she spent the next 4 years in kind of a personal hell. I think psychedelics can radically change the brain's perspective. And I'm not sure all brains are quite ready for that. I don't know. I plan to read some more about it. I have not taken it, and most people who say if you haven't taken it, you can't judge that, and that may be true. I don't know.
I've had both.
I'm sorry, Todd.
I said I've had both.
Have you? Was it
Yeah.
positive? Was it?
Some were positive, a couple were bad.
Interesting. It's the one you take where you see entities, elves, and always culturally appropriate entities, something with which your brain is familiar, evidently.
You mean
I-
psilocybin, right? Psilocybin, but also psychedelic assisted therapy would be different. It's really, really, there's a lot of research to back that up, and it helped veterans tremendously. So it does have sort of an effect, but I would be afraid without somebody there that's really safe and could direct me and stuff like that. So I think that would be different than recreationally doing it.
Oh, I would too. Yeah, mushrooms have always kind of intrigued me, but my life is so, I don't know, it's so peaceful now. It perfect it doesn't sound that it doesn't ring as relevant, but there is a peace that passes understanding. One time I have very loud tinnitus from the occupations I wound up in. And the therapist said, let's try some marijuana. And I've also an alcoholic, so I rejected that for a while. And I thought, well, I'll try it. It's been like 40 years, 50 years since I quit drinking. At 50, I guess. And so I thought, well, I'll try it. And I tried some lozenges. And that night, my brain was like grinding. It was just really uncomfortable. And I woke up in the morning, this lightness of being that I had experienced since that night in Las Vegas was gone. And I was really depressed. I didn't know if I wanted to live. One other lady who I know went through this loss and was incredibly depressed for a very long period of time. So I made an appointment with the psychiatrist again, and who is supposedly one of the world's authorities on tinnitus. And the appointment was 2 weeks away. And by the time the appointment came, this had returned, whatever it is, this sublime peace, the peace that passes understanding returned. And I had no reason to go to see her, but I had to pay for it anyway. It was like, I think $340. So I thought, well, I'll go talk to her anyway. And we wound up talking about her marriage and her breakup and what she was going to do with her life for an hour. But she still charged me. But it did return, which to me makes awakening or enlightenment superficial. It's just a reprogramming. There's nothing special about it. It's just a brain that has become rewired in a way that it finds more comfortable. It's not a radical shift in perspective. Well, it is, but it's not at all what people think, I think. When I woke up that morning in Las Vegas, there was this incredible, gentle non-judgmental, simply beingness. It wasn't childish, it was childlike. Everything was so beautiful. I looked at my wife in bed and she was sleeping, and I looked out the window into the Las Vegas that was coming into the light. It was so beautiful. And that incredible shock of this incredible beauty has worn off. But in its place is this just joy, non-personalized. It's not related to the person. It's just like a baby feels, I think, or a colt in the springtime. They run and they learn they can buck, and oh, they just play. And if there's two colts, they play together. And it feels like that. Everything, I see wild turkeys and I think, oh my God, there's wild turkeys. And I see them, I don't know, twice a week. They're pretty common around here. But every time I see them, I think, wild turkeys. It is childlike. It's a return to the gentleness of simply being. Um, the self is still there, but it's seen as a metal fabrication, as a gem, as a jewel. This meeting, if we can avoid crosstalk and possibly raise our hand when we want to speak, it sometimes meetings will get out of hand, and people will talking, and then somebody says, "Oh, I want to say something," and then it winds up into a lot of crosstalk. So I think if we could raise our hand, it would be beneficial for everyone. Um, I was going to talk about this morning, this, but that seems what? I couldn't think of a topic, so I think, oh, I'll talk about this. But this is unique to each individual. Each individual brain has a unique world, a world unto itself, a universe of memories swirling. I look at Philip, and he's in a land I've never been. He speaks with an accent that I love, that he can't hear. I wish he could. It's exquisite. It's, I don't know, it's delight to the ears. And I wonder about his world sometimes. I see his name and I think, I wonder what Philip's doing. I wonder, he fit into this, well, he's a nice man, so he fit into this world that he moved to a different town, and I think he fit in beautifully with the locals and the guys. I wonder about his world. I wonder about South Africa, what South Africa is like, and Sarah's world. The sound of her voice thrills me. It sounds like a warm river to me. It's like floating down the Mississippi with Huck and Jim on a raft. And Todd, I've loved for a long time. Todd is very tall. He's like 7 foot something. It surprised me. He's wonderful. I met him what I call in person, kind and gentle. This feels tribal to me. We grew up, our evolutionary history, we grew up in small tribes, 20 or 30, 40 people, a fire starter, a basket maker, a medicine man or woman. We were critical to each other's survival. We couldn't do all the stuff that was necessary, so the tribe was necessary. And it felt like one entity to us, I think. Like an anthill is really one living organism, and a tribe is one living organism, and a new baby comes in and everyone loves the baby. I think we crave that tribal connection. that feeling of belonging, of a little bit of release from the loneliness of imaginary separation. Human beings all suffer from that. We feel something is missing, that we have to find something. Sentience is longing. And for us, it's loneliness. This imaginary separation can never be satiated, can never be filled. And somehow that when that dawns, this great compassion for other human beings seems to arise. And in that arising comes a gentleness that other people relate to. They have to, there's no way to not accept this unconditional love. I think we might come across someone who would reject it, be out of their own fear or confusion, but it's really undeniable. It's I fall in love everywhere I go. I see people not as people so much as beautiful stories, memories woven into the fabric of an entity, into the tapestry of I amness. Beautiful stories. I sat with people that were dying in hospice, and the stories they tell, heroic things that they did. I sat with veterans from World War II, and things they didn't talk about the war to their family. But when they're dying, some things they wanted to say and get off their chest. So you'd hear stories of heroism and sad stories, heartbreaking stories. But they're just stories. Stories that create a person or the image of a person. When we begin to see that, we see it in ourselves. Ourself is just a illusory character composed of nothing but memories, some of which are painful, some of which we regret, some of which we want to remember more. I spent a lot of my growing up years drunk, and I've heard stories, and I don't know if they're true or not. Some of which I hope aren't. Some of which could have wound me up in prison. One of my best friends wound up in prison for life. He shot a person. I almost shot a person one time. Or my brother got kicked out of a bar and it made him mad. So he came home and got a pistol, and I came home with him, and it was a Ruger single 6.22, which really would have made the sheriff mad. It wouldn't have hurt him, but he was going to kill the sheriff. And I went with him, and I would have been guilty. And we were walking in through cold Wyoming winter, and the gun got cold, so he handed it to me because it got so cold. And so I was thinking, this probably isn't such a good idea. And it's a good thing the bar was about a half a mile from our house, because we were trudging through the snow. He was muttering to himself. But we would have wound up in prison. If he would have gone in there shooting, I mean, it was a crowded bar. Oh God, it would have been awful. But somehow we went back home with the pistol. Other times I've almost killed people. Close, drunk a lot. Somehow I skated through and found this wife that I married who's golden light and beautiful and lovely. Never says anything bad about anybody. She can't swear. She just can't. It's funny. I don't know. I know nothing about life. None of us ever can or ever will. All we live in is an objectified dream. No one knows more about us than anything. It can be beautiful or it can be terrible. The whole spectrum of human experience. I see schizophrenics walking down the street talking to themselves in some type of personal hell, and my heart aches for them. I see children laughing and playing. I see mothers, young mothers, some stressed, some loving, babies, everyone I fall in love with. And it's really falling in love with oneself. That's all we are. That's all we have, is this swirling group of memories inside of a brain that is so beautifully complex. I think it breaks down to the brain loving its just loving awareness. It's aware only through objectification, which is a great gift and a great burden sometimes. It doesn't last that long. I look at my white hair, what there is left of it, and I think, oh, I had black hair once. It was black. And it was long. I remember riding a horse and feeling it in the wind. But those memories, those are just memories. That's who I am. Are this swirling collage, a universe of memories. And that will die along with the body. When the brain loses oxygen, I think a great peace comes as the burden of self begins to dissolve. People sometimes become lucid before they die. My mother-in-law, she was dying, and we were all there for about 4 hours. She went to that stage where dying people will stop breathing for a while, and you think, oh, they're died. And then they'll take a deep breath, and I go, oh. And then, but in that process, she opened her eyes and looked around this hospital room, which is starkness of tubes and beeping and comings and goings of nurses, and it's a pretty stark environment. But she opened her eyes and she looked around the room. She said, beautiful, beautiful. She died shortly after that. I think that moment is available for us to live in. Beautiful, beautiful. That was off topic. I go to Tim Kliss's meeting and he'll stop talking and just wait. Sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 minutes will go by till someone raises their hand. Who left? Somebody left. Ah. Oh, Marcine is here. Hi, Marcine. Marcine Timpone. Timpone. Oh my. There's a lady who came on to my page who speaks nothing but French. And what she says is beautiful. But I think a lot is lost in translation. And then I was thinking that when we talk to each other, a lot is lost in translation. We grew up in different worlds, different ancestries. Raj's great grandparents came from India to South Africa. There's an inheritance of culture, of language and subtleties, of food, a whole different world, entirely different, connected only by language, connected only by the words we share. It's amazing to me that anything comes across. We're so different and so delightfully the same. Wyoming was a rough and tumble world that I grew up in. It was drinking. Everyone I knew carried a fifth. I don't know if they make fifths or not anymore. A fifth is actually 4/5 of a quart of alcohol. I don't know who came up with that, but they're called fifths. Everybody had a fifth of Jim Beam, which is a sour mash whiskey, which is terrible tasting. Underneath their pickup at 5 o'clock, everybody would stop and start drinking. And there were fist fights. And rarely was a party held. Somebody didn't get into a fight. In the bars, there were fist fights all the time. It was a tough and tumble world. I grew up in that. It's different than most worlds. But there is a common thing, a common ground where we meet in language. But so much is lost in translation. I know a little of your stories. Oh, hi. Hi, you. And the more I know of your stories, the more I love you. I used to think if someone really knew me, they wouldn't love me. But it's not true. The more I tell about myself, the more people accept me and my humanness. The things I thought were abominable or just human. All of our emotions are ones that we try to control. I saw a mother a long time ago, a baby put their finger in the baby put their finger in its nose, and the mother,
Oh.
yeah. This was a long time ago. To now I'm old, and I would say, "Oh no, no," and suffer the consequences. But I wasn't fearless then. I've grown fearless. I'm afraid of, I don't think anything. Part of that is the depersonalization that occurs naturally and easily over time. We don't think that we're an actual person anymore, and we don't think others are either. We see others, and it sounds cold, I think, as beautiful reactive machinery. Choice doesn't enter my world at all. I see people as choiceless, and along with that comes the lack of judgment. The mother who slapped the baby's hand, I see her as reacting because that's what her parent did to her. Doubtful if anybody said, "Oh no, hon, no." Everyone is this beautiful, highly evolved survival reproductive machinery. Oh, Jonathan is here. We are the jewels of the universe. We are the only place where love and beauty exist. Other animals don't stand in awe of a rainbow. I was driving through the desert one time, and there's the most intense double rainbow I've ever seen. And people were pulling off the road to look at this rainbow. There was 20 cars on the side of the road. I thought, oh my God. It wasn't the rainbow that was so beautiful. It was the fact that beauty is where we meet. It's where the language overlaps. I see poppies in the springtime, and I'll say to my wife, "Oh, honey, look at the poppies," and she'll say, "Oh, wow." The sharing of beauty, the sharing of love. Ah, look at these faces. Uh, um, is uniquely human. When I said we're the jewels of manifestation, I believe that. Nowhere else has an organism evolved where the mouth parts, the larynx, the lips, the tongue came together in such a way that we can speak. We have a language. Chimpanzees can't talk. Even if they could mentally, they don't have the mouth parts, which they can't. Um, we're so beautiful and so unique to be human. It's so rare. There's no reason to expect anything like us exist in the universe. The vastness of interstellar space, infinity. If evolution has never repeated itself, even close, one time, once an organism is gone, it's gone forever. The uniqueness of that is gone. And we are unique in evolution. And when we're gone, we won't be replaced by other humans. Who knows what will happen? We cannot conceive of that. We can't conceive of anything really. Sharing ideas, sharing our lives through language as close as we can ever get. We try to get close to one another. We rub bodies up against each other. But that's not the closeness I'm talking about. There's a place where our shadows overlap, where the shadow figures overlap in a common, maybe it's just common memories. I don't know. I don't care anymore. But there's something human we love. And it's in toddlers. I mentioned the little boy I saw last Christmas, and he was a busy store, and everybody was, and he had a gun in his hand. He was looking around like this. He was 7 or 8. So I caught his eye, and I'm looking at him, and I start to go for my guns, and he draws down on me, and I'm ready to draw my guns, just staring at each other, evil eyed. And his mother turned around and caught us, and she laughed. But for a moment, this little boy and I were one. We, whatever that is, that moment, and it can be captured in others if you catch their eye, if you look at them. Young Hispanic man was walking through the store, and I think I was walking too close for his comfort zone. He turned around and looked at me, and I looked at him, and I said, "Merry Christmas." It caught him off guard. And so he laughed. And then he wanted to play, he wanted to talk some more. So we talked. We had a moment. We shared. That happens all the time. It's easy to unlock. Easy. We have to be fearless, though. I think we have to practice that. And we become better. Everywhere I go, I fall in love with people working at a restaurant. I'll pay attention to them. There was a young lady who when we have our groceries, we have them brought out to the car because my wife is so frightened of catching COVID, and we should be. But a young lady who came out to our car was so nice and so friendly. I said, one time I said, you know, you're very special. You're so kind. I said, you're going to go far in life. She started to cry. She said, no one ever told me that. I said, really? And now when I see her, she runs to the car and giggles like a little girl. And I just love her. I'm suggesting, and I don't know if there's a path. I don't think there's any paths in this life. I'm suggesting there's an alternative way to experience the world. Some people do that with psychedelics and they come back with, I think, very valid experiences, but it's still all in their head. I'm suggesting there's a softer way to live where we don't have to be defensive. We don't have, there's nothing to defend really. The person is a mental fabrication. As we open up to other people, we start to open up to ourselves. And I don't know what that is, what dynamic happens. But I know it's real. To me, it's the only thing that's real. It's not real either, but it's the only thing that makes sense to me is this human compassion for one another. Oh, Raja has her hand up. Yes, Raja.
Hi, Michael.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, everyone. It's interesting that you said that there's no path. But like Tim says, there's so many paths.
So many what, Raja?
I said, like you said, there's no path. But if you really look at it, there's so many paths prescribed by gurus and sages and psychologists and everyone, you know? Yeah. And inevitably, most of us have used quite a few paths, whether it's non-dual or dualistic paths. Maybe doing all that helped us in some way. What do you think, Michael?
I think every path leads back into the dream. A path indicates that we're in search of something that will improve our life, improve our perspective. When we are the path, we are the brain's objectified perspective. There's no path really in a dream. It's all dream paths. There's no self to improve. It doesn't exist. It's a group of memories. So any path taken by a group of memories, the sense of I am, will only validate it or serve to validate it, only make it appear real or more real. Anything the brain does to improve its imaginary sense of self only validates it. Somehow the bottom of the bucket falls out, and all of that is seen as effort to improve something that never actually existed. It can take a lifetime.
So technically, I mean, so what you're saying, Michael, is that no matter what we do or what we don't do, there seemingly is the story that is unfolding and which will unfold no matter what happens. You know what I mean? It is just this like a history thing that's unfolding, and we are part of that. There is seeming action within that, and there is like emotions and sensations and everything, and all these things really don't exist. There's nothing there. So, but yet you'll still come back and say, that the best part of this is being in the dream. You know what I mean?
Well, the dream analogy can be taken too far. It's not really a dream. Our condition doesn't have anything to which it can be compared. Um, the closest word that most people come up with is dream, in that it's removed from reality, or what we imagine reality to be. It's the only reality we can ever know, but it's not reality. Our reality is different than a bat's, a cat's, a rat's, a cockroach, a coach rock coach. What am I doing? A little insect. You know, it doesn't matter. Just disappeared there for a second. Cockroach. That's so hard to say. Every sentient organism has a very unique world. A bat may live in a cave with millions of other bats, and it enters this blackness and clicks to find out where it's at. And a mother bat with a million other bats clicking and a million babies clicking can find her baby. So, I mean, they're like click, 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 a million, billion clicks going on. She can locate her baby. Now, what kind of world is that? We can't fathom it. We can't even hope to get an idea of what that's like. And each of us, in our objectified perspective, live in a different reality. My reality includes early childhood on a ranch in Wyoming. Everyone's childhood and adolescence and high school and wherever after is accumulation of jobs and girlfriends and boyfriends and all of this stuff that makes up this sense of personal identity is unique. It's a closed loop. It's a world within a brain. The stars swirl in your own synaptic gaps, the only stars you can ever know. Somehow the brain can see that, and it becomes enthralled, subsumed in its own magnificence. The human brain is the most complex organ that has ever lived or ever will live, I believe. It's so beautiful, but its world is tiny. Its experiential palette is restricted to it. The brain is flooded with input, and it has to funnel that down to something very small that it can deal with. But it does it beautifully. You can drive a car while you're thinking about the song you're singing or whatever you're thinking about. Your brain's just driving the car. I used to be a blackout drunk, and somehow I get home 18 miles from the cowboy bar to the ranch, drunk where I didn't remember coming in nothing. Brains going. It's steering the ship. It's a magnificent survival, reproductive mechanism. We live on the shoulders of survivors for the last 100 million years. Survivors that made it through the plains of Africa, onto the slopes of mountainsides in Europe, through ice ages, through the Middle Ages, through plagues. We stand on the shoulders of survivors. We are the cream of the cream, creme de la creme. We're the best of the best. And look at us. We're worried about trying to make ourselves better. Oh, is it Brandon? My eyes are bad. Brandon, yes, you had your hand up.
Yeah, the thing I wanted to say is, isn't it obvious that this isn't reality, or that if there is such a thing, it seems so obvious, right? And it's confusing, or I don't understand. On the one hand, I'm like, I must not understand because you're trying to say something. And on the other hand, other people seem to think they see reality, which seems insane.
The rub lies in the word reality. Um, we think there is such a thing as reality, and we think we know what it is when we don't. There's no such thing as reality. Um, we think that reality is the way things really, really are. Somehow that is imagined to be outside of our personal frame of reference, and somehow we can get to it. Reality, like happiness, doesn't exist. Happiness, there's no such thing as happiness. You can't go out and get you some of that. It's a chemical reaction in the brain. The brain has flooded with feel good chemicals, and it feels good. We label that happiness. We have to. That's where we share in this common language. Your happiness definition is different than mine. Everyone's lives in a unique world, and so much is lost in translation.
It keeps changing too. I can't even remember what my happinesses used to be. Like,
Yeah, yeah. When you were 6, you had a different criteria for happy. When I was in high school, I think my happiness laid somewhere in the opposite sex. I was pretty sure of it. Oh my God. There's no such thing as happiness. We'll never be happy. There's no such thing. Um, People will get addicted to drugs. I was addicted to alcohol. I don't think because it made me happy. It made me the world that I knew disappear, and I wasn't happy there. So um, we want to feel different than we feel. Um, we're on a quest. Human beings are intrinsically lonely and alone, and have this longing. Life is longing. Every organism longs for things that fulfill their mandate to survive and reproduce. Foxes in the forest, and everything is longing for. We are longing. We are life's objectified longing. We long for things that don't exist. Happiness, reality, peace of mind. All of those are ideas. They have no reality at all. And even you're using, using that word, we can't get away from it. To say something has no reality assumes that there is such a thing as reality. Oh my. Raja.
So many things is confused.
Your laughter is like a warm river.
Yeah, well, reality is, I think, individual perception of the world. Each person perceives their own reality. I mean, whatever that is real to them.
Mm. Well, yeah, you
Yeah, I don't know.
refer to explaining.
And happiness, like, I don't think happiness is like a thing as such, or can be obtained from things. I don't know. And yeah, but I mean, don't you think people generally use more of their brain, kind of a thing? Do you think that happens? Where people are like they say the normal human just uses 10% of their brain. Then do you think people can use more than their brain? More than that.
Uh,
More than that 10%.
yeah. Yeah, how could a brain that was using 10% of itself know that it's using 10% of itself?
It's being told.
Yeah, it would be pretty slow if it was only using 10% of it. So yeah, it would never know that. Oh my God. Yeah, that's not true, by the way. The brain, they know that chemicals through brain scans that like at night, the whole brain is exploding with activity. The whole thing, it goes, blood rushes through, and they think it might be sorting and storing information that's pertinent to its survival. I don't know. No one knows. The brain's too complex for the brain to understand. Um, but they do know that there's no part in evolution that doesn't have a function. Appendix in human beings had probably had a function at one time. They'd atrophied and the function no longer is needed, evidently. But a rabbit has an appendix 10 times as large as humans. So it does have a function. They don't take it out as easily as they used to because they assume that it probably has a function. Um, oh, God. Just a brain aghast at its own complexity is wonderful. So wonderful.
Yeah, because if you look at Michael, like this lady, you remember that, I forgot her name now, but she had a stroke, like,
Yeah.
and then when she had a stroke, her left brain stopped functioning
Oh.
and her right brain. And then according to what she was saying, she said from that perspective now, the right brain was more like a more present moment, like it was, living in the present, like kind of a thing. And
Yeah.
the left brain was more like concerned with details. Yeah. Yeah. And then, I mean, that like now, like I am left handed, right? I use my left hand. So my right brain, I am more right brains, that means, So I don't know if that makes sense. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just, I don't know. To me, this feels like right and left brain harmonized. Uh, Not one taking dominance. I can't do math. I couldn't get past college algebra. Took it 3 times. Um, I can't do it. But somehow there's a harmony in there inside, a balance. It feels like beautifully balanced between two worlds. One this imaginary objectification of the universe, and the physical body, beautifully balanced between those two worlds. Not a tension between the two. Um, Somehow, the joy and awe of simply being has infused itself into the image of who I am. Um, it's the peace that passes understanding. Uh, it's the Elysian fields. It's the happy hunting ground. It's heaven. Kingdom of heaven is within. Um, Everything is within. The entire world that you can ever experience exists inside of your brain. And it will disappear someday. It will evaporate when the body dies. But while we're here, look around. Look how easily you can move your hands. Look at this. That's a miracle. It's amazing. Everything becomes scintillating. And the most beautiful thing is other human beings. The rest of the world is beautiful. Trees, I can see the ocean from here. Uh, just rocks and water, really. But human beings are the light of the world, are the a light. I don't know. It's so wonderful living in the sublime unknowingness, knowing that nothing can be known, knowing that nobody knows more about this than you. Because
But
nothing.
somehow I feel, Michael, that the brain, um, that's where this kind of enlightenment takes place, you know? I mean, obviously, there's no such thing as enlightenment as such. But that, I mean, like, your brain gets like rewired, you know?
Mm.
And I don't know why people are resistant to that, to
Mm.
anything about the brain, because technically that's where everything seemingly happens, you know? If you think about it, like I feel like I'll feel stuff happening in my brain. It's like you feel like rushes of, I don't know what it is, chemicals probably, and then you feel like parts of your brain are getting lit up, you know,
Mm.
or what, like filled with something, you know. So it's all happening here in the brain. I don't know, but some people say there's a heart now. I mean, obviously, I don't know. I get confused about that.
Mm.
You know,
You're not confused. It's the brain that is
yeah.
confused. You don't exist. You exist as a beautiful mental fabrication. It's the brain has created an objectified overlay that it mistakes for reality. And it tries to use that to figure out what's going on in it. The only tools it has is language. And language is what creates the imaginary separation. It's actually a heck of a problem that doesn't exist. It's struggling against a group of its own ideas. It's trying to attain something that exists only as its own ideas. If it's seeking enlightenment, and there's no such thing, of course, it's seeking to get its sense of self enlightened. And of course, it can't. The self doesn't exist. It's merely a brain struggling with its own imaginary world, its own world of named things. There are no things. I used to talk at a philosophy class of my friend who was a philosophy professor, and I would offer $1,000 to anybody who could think of anything that didn't have a name. And of course, $1,000 interested them. So they'd look around and oh, you can look outside. You can look anywhere in the world. One kid raised his hand and he said, nothing. I said, oh no, we call that nothing. It's named nothing. We can't think of anything that doesn't have a name. That's because things exist only.
I can.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I could draw something on the wall, right?
Uh-huh.
And you could say it's named something, right? But before I tell you anything about it, I don't have to think of a word, and I can look at that and see it, and I can differentiate it from the wall.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I'll call it eventually, but I don't have to call it it. Right? It's only in the communication where it it has a form, a mental form in my mind, but I would have to think about it to communicate it to you. I'd have to say, oh, it's like a squiggle and it goes up over here. And if I got mathematical, I could say the angles and everything, right? But it would take time to learn how to translate that into language for you.
Yes. I'm suggesting it doesn't exist for an objectifying brain until it forms as an image. That's, I think, the fundament out of which language emerges, is this pre-lingual vaporousness. But as soon as to bring it into our world, into the objectified overlay, the brain has to give it a name to share it. And we exist only in the sharing. We exist only in the company of other people. One man alone on an island starts to go insane. There's no such thing as one man. We exist in the reflections of each other. And in this, what you're talking about is a pre-verbal nebulousness out of which language emerges. And I suppose there is a period or initial stages of that are pre-verbal. I don't know. There's some wonderful books on language, the origin of language and the essence of language. Some wonderful thinkers have spent time on this. And they're fun to explore, but again, they're just bouncing off the surface. Their world, or what they imagine to be a pre-verbal namelessness, exists as a pre-verbal namelessness. And to bring that into the world of sharing, which is the place we emerge, it has to be objectified. That's a wonderful thought that you brought up, though. I can't quite get it.
I yearn to have the same reality as you. I have a longing, and I can never know, but I have this yearning to have a shared world.
That's because your brain is imagining a world different than what it's experiencing. And of course, it can never do that. It can never experience something other than what it is. It can, I think, in the company of those, I go to Tim Kliss's meeting. I enjoy him. I enjoy his honesty and unpretentiousness, and I just like him. I love him. And he brings up thoughts like you brought up. To me, that's a great joy. It's playing in each other's world. It's dogs unleashed at the beach, discovering each other and pause down. Let's play. Let's go. Let's do this. I love that thought.
Michael?
Yes.
But Michael, by implication, we're going to say that there is a worded world and a wordless world. I mean, that's what I got from Brendan, like what he was trying to say. There is a wordless world. Now, which one would you say is the imaginary one? The worded one or the wordless one?
Both. Our entire world is imagination. There is no wordless.
But whenever you write, you say
they
are beautifully balanced between the imaginary and whatever.
Yeah. Beautifully balanced in being human, embracing and accepting everything that comes along. Sometimes we live in a college town, and I'll see the young students walking along, and I see them worried and carrying this load of books, and I remember that, and I want to look them, shake them, and say, "Look at you! You're young and healthy and beautiful. If you flunk out of college, you can become a surfer if you want. You can do it. This is your life. It's one time." I tell my grandkids that, and all but one, I think, are two of them who just recently graduated from college. And all the time growing up, I'd say, you don't have to go to college. If you want to surf, you can surf. I'll buy you a ticket to Costa Rica if you want. I will help you. Of course, they go to college, and that's okay, and it's all good. But the younger one is not. She has trouble with reading. She's not good at math. And when I talk to her, she likes to invent things, and some of her ideas are really good. She's athletic, loves sports, and both of her parents are like me. do what you want. It's your life. So I'm old, so I won't get to see her grow up, but I want to see what she does. Maybe she'll become an auto mechanic, a welder. Who knows? A carpenter. I was a carpenter. I loved it. I don't know. It's letting people be themselves.
Yeah.
It's letting yourself be yourself. Oh, he's going back to this college town. And sometimes I'll see a young lady and I'll think, oh God, she's so beautiful. And then this young man comes out again. I'll think, oh, but then I think, well, what would we talk about? Nothing in common. I have nothing in common with an 18, 20-year-old girl. But then I laugh at myself, but I don't judge myself. I don't say, oh, you dirty old man. I don't. I just think, oh man, it's so, and I had fun growing up. I had my share. There's nothing I would go back to. Maybe I would. Oh, it's just this joy of being whatever you are. I'm looking at Jonathan's face, and there was a little girl on there a minute ago, and she was so beautiful. And I see a beautiful young man who's a beautiful father who wanted to share his daughter for a moment because she is so beautiful. It's the sharing that's one of the greatest loves we have. I don't know if hanging around people, excuse me, I have to drink. Helps. I don't know. For 50 years I searched, and I started sitting with people who I thought had this, whatever it is. Wayne Lickerman, I sat with, who else? Oh gosh. Quite a few, really. Eli Jackson Bear. Oh, I was trying to think who wrote Being There. That didn't matter. And my world would bounce off of theirs, and I would resonate and think, oh, that's nice. I like that. But all the time, it never dawned that I was that. I was a complete human being. I've always been complete, nothing lacking. Nothing can be added, nothing can be taken away. People say this is it. That's what they're talking about. But this can be misinterpreted. It's saying like this is reality, or I think they're trying to say this right now, you're complete. You're a complete human being. You have all the machinery to survive and reproduce. That's our mandate of all life, is to survive and reproduce. But we have this added, this software, this objective.
So, Michael, you couldn't have been searching for 50 years for just that. You know what I mean? If that was all it was. To find out that you are just human, you know.
Do you know what I would change about you, Raj?
Yeah. My hair.
What do you think I would change? Huh? What do you think?
Hmm?
What do you think?
Nothing. I mean, that's your
Nothing.
normal answer.
No. Why would I dabble with perfection? It's like taking the back of a Rolex watch off and saying, what can I do with this watch that would make it better? Not knowing anything about watches. No, nothing. What would you change about that little girl, Jonathan? What would you do? Nothing. What could you do to make her better? Nothing. Not a single thing. What a lovely little person. Oh my, someone that looks like her dad. Yeah, hi, honey. Hi. Hi, honey. You
Say
sweet.
hi.
Oh, oh, look at that baby. Not a baby, it's big girl. Yes.
You
Yeah.
baby or big?
Oh, can you say your name? What is your name?
What's your name?
Baba. Baba.
How old are you?
Oh, her world is starting to become a world of named things. They can pick up so much. They can pick up. You are so beautiful. Yes, you are. What is that you have in your hands? What is that? Oh, don't worry about those little dimples in her hands. You are a love. You are. Look at their eyes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Speaking in sentences now, are you?
He's getting
Oh gosh, if you think this is good, just wait. Oh, oh, look at you.
You have such a pretty cup.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
like it. It's pink, a pink cup.
it's a pink cup.
So lovely. Yeah,
Can you hold up the pink
it's
cup?
so lucky to have a pink cup.
Oh, two. Yeah.
Show them your cup.
Oh my gosh. Oh, how beautiful. Thank you for sharing. How what more? Oh, oh, I remember that age with my oh, oh, you isn't it funny how they relate
That's
to,
a pretty girl. She's so pretty.
oh my
Yeah, a pretty little girl.
Thank
Oh, now she's got a cut. What a car. That's so
car.
nice.
Yes.
Yeah, so
you.
Oh, thank you, Jonathan. That was wonderful. Oh. That little mind is a sponge. One time my granddaughter was younger than that, just crawling. And my wife said, "Come here, watch this." And she said, "So I go find the horsey." There were animals all over the ground. So she goes like this, she scoots over and finds the horsey. And she did that for 5 different things. They know much more than we think they do. They pick up so much. If do you speak 2 languages, Jonathan?
Yeah, we speak Spanish and English.
Oh, she will have a native tongue. She'll speak Spanish. Yeah, it's different than learning it as a baby and learning it as a college student. They
Yeah, they
think,
pick it up pretty fast.
of
They pick it up pretty fast. Yeah,
course,
definitely.
easily. Yeah, they can become trilingual very easily, especially in a bilingual home. If you speak a lot of Spanish around her, she will be a native. There'll be to have 2 native tongues. She'll live in 2 worlds. There are
Mm-hmm.
Spanish that don't translate. And
Yeah.
so she will have two worlds. How lucky she is. How lucky she is to have a father like you.
Try my best.
Ah, yes, what a blessing. Like I said, it gets better and better. My son is 54, and I love him so much. I've never had a coarse word with him. One time he was in high school, he said, Dad, if you look mean at me, it would just crush my heart, crush me. I said, oh, I'll try never to look mean at you. While he was growing up, I'd hold his face in my hands and say, I love you. I'll always love you. I'll always be here for you. You can count on me. If you call me at 3 o'clock in the morning, I will come. No questions asked. I'll always be here for you. I used to tell him that, oh, no, maybe once a year. So just to let him know. And he has become the most wonderful, powerful person. It does get better and better and better. Hi, Marcine. It's good to see you. Ah, you're muted, huh? Can we hear your voice? Down in the far left.
Hi.
Hi.
I finally made it. Ooh. Hi, everybody.
Oh,
Hi.
Blessings. Blessings.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
What a sweetheart.
You guys usually meet at 9 o'clock Chicago time, don't you?
Yeah, it's I think 11 o'clock Pacific time, but it's
Yeah.
7:70, including Christmas Eve. Yeah, it's been I've had the most wonderful time. I've had new ideas to explore. I saw a beautiful little human being. I see beautiful faces that I can't look at too long, or I lose my train of thought. Um, it's I don't know. I can't express this feeling. I don't have a word for it. Like Brandon was saying, I guess it's humanness I love, that I resonate, or not resonate. I don't care for that word so much anymore. That I harmonize with. It's the raw humanness, the complete package, the whole enchilada. Um, in Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a 4-step where if you sponsor someone, they tell you everything that they feel bad about, or everything that has bothered them in life. They just tell you everything. At the end of maybe a 2-hour session of listening to this story, you'll say there's a couple of things you haven't told me. Oh no, now's the time. They're almost always the same thing. We punish ourselves so much. When choice is factored out, forgiveness becomes moot. There's nothing to forgive. I think we can see that in other people. We can see that choicelessness is our condition. It's hard to see in ourselves. We are brutal to ourselves. We just brutalize ourselves. I don't know where that comes from. Maybe from parents that were demanding. I don't know. Maybe it's a guilt that evolved to keep us in line, to keep us from breaking the rules. We have to follow society's rules or we'll be outcast. And we think if we break the rules, I don't know what guilt is. Shame. You don't hear people shaming each other. I don't hear parents say shame on you. I never see anybody do this. This means shame on you. They don't do it anymore. Shame on you. Well, shame on us. We just shame ourselves all the time. I shouldn't be thinking that. I shouldn't. I shouldn't. Shame. I don't feel shame anymore. I don't feel guilt. Um, Other people are guiltless to me. And they are so damn beautiful. It dawned on me. I was talking the other day, and I don't see ugly. I don't see ugly people. Each one is exquisite, a unique work of art, shining something or other, shining mysteriousness. Walt Whitman said, I see young women and they're beautiful. I see older women and they're more beautiful. And then I know what he's talking about. I like the age. I like the wrinkles. I like the tear tracks in the cheeks. I just like them. And I know as close as I can get is the language we share. And that's okay with me. That's as close as I've ever got to anybody. It's as close as I get to my wife. 60 years we've howled around through life. I don't know her. I never will. We are universes, galaxies, light years away from each other. We're not even that. We're not real. How could I know her? She doesn't exist except as a group of memories in my mind, golden memories. High school, she was a cheerleader. She's so beautiful. But she's more beautiful now. She's handicapped. I try to help her as much as I can. And she helps me as much as we can. We love each other. But she's more beautiful now than she was in high school. Oh my. Brandon, thank you for that thought. I'm going to try to figure it out. Not that I can. We can only go so deep. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Here's another one.
Oh
We'll
no.
see where it goes.
Let me go get it.
You were saying the closest we can get to each other is through language. And I love to do surprise smiles to people. And there's like a group selling drugs like on the corner down the block, and they look real tough and closed off. But if I sneak a surprise smile, usually there's one back, and I feel it might only last half a second, but I feel in that moment I'm as close to anybody as I could ever be. And it's a flash because then the exterior comes back, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's the tribal essence of what? It's the humanness. It's the light on light. It's the only place we can meet is in that flash of a smile. My wife and I found ourselves in a very dark part of Fresno, which was the gangland world, and we were hungry. We didn't know where we were, and we walked into a fast food restaurant, and it was full of gang members. I don't know if it was the same gang or if it was a safe ground because they were families. I opened the door and I looked around the room, and of course, a lot of people looked at me, and I thought, well, I can't close the door and back out. So my wife and I went in, and as like I mentioned, she has a walker. So we sit down at a corner table, and men do a thing where they nod at each other, and women don't do it, but it's a gentle nod to say, I'm here, I'm not going to hurt you, and you're not going to hurt me. And it's just a nod. So that happened with several of the young men and older men. It was a nod. So we had our dinner and we walked to the door, and my wife was on her walker, and a young man jumped up and opened the door for us. And it was one of those moments that become like a beautiful painting on the wall when you're going through a museum. It was that it became part of who I am, that he would jump up and help an old couple. It was lovely. It was those moments that we can live in. I've been awash since the meeting started. I've been floating down this river, warm river, watching worlds go by. It's quite delightful to be human. Anything else? Itching in those beautiful brains? Sarah, where are you at this morning? Sarah?
I don't have any special plans. I'm here at home.
Ah. I was thinking about you last week. Always pleasant thoughts. Oh my. I guess it's time. Oh. Thank you all for coming. It's so lovely to see you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love you. Lots and lots.
I love you. That's the easiest thing to say now, is I love you.
I love you, Marcin.
Yeah.
Lyndon,
Yeah.
Love you too. Love you all.
Oh, you sweetie. Oh, what a lovely time.
Yeah.
It's Todd's face looks like a Rembrandt painting.
Love you, Todd.
Yeah, looks like a smiling Rembrandt. That's so beautiful.
Keeping me up last night, so I'm taking a nap.
Nice. I love naps. Oh, you beautiful people. Thank you for coming. Merry Christmas.
Merry
Merry,
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Lovely. I will see you next Sunday, I hope.
Yes.
Love you lots, Michael.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, you
Bye.
beauty.